In the cold December air of 2002, a teenage girl vanished from the safety of her own home in Holland, Arkansas. No broken doors, no signs of forced entry, just an eerie, overwhelming silence and a set of shattered glasses on the floor. Her name was Kacie Woody, and what began as a quiet night of chatting online with friends would spiral into a nightmare that still haunts the corridors of the internet's darkest corners. This case isn't just about a missing girl. It's about digital predators, naive trust, and a family shattered by an evil that crept in through a computer screen. If you're new here, welcome to True Crime Archives channel. I'm your host, and each week I take you deep into some of the darkest, most chilling true crime cases ever documented. If you're passionate about unsolved mysteries, cold cases, and the hidden dangers lurking beneath the surface, subscribe now and stay with us, because this story, it's one you'll never forget. The evening started out ordinary. Kacie Woody, just 13 years old, was home alone. Her brother Tim had gone to the college library for a late study session. Kacie, like most teens in the early 2000s, was at the family computer chatting away on Yahoo Messenger, lost in conversation and unaware that danger was closing in. At exactly 10 p.m., Tim returned home. As he opened the door, he expected to hear Kacie's voice, maybe the rhythmic tapping of keyboard keys or soft laughter echoing from the next room. But what greeted him was complete silence. No typing, no music, no Kacie. The house was still, too still. Tim called out for his sister, no answer. He searched the house. Maybe she had gone to bed early, but her room was empty. Something was off. And then, the first sign that something was terribly wrong. Kacie's glasses, essential for her to see, were lying on the floor, smashed. Then came the family dog, a small Yorkshire Terrier, limping, whimpering, as if trying to warn him. Tim's gut told him the truth before he could even process it. Kacie was gone. Kacie Woody was not just another teenager. Born in Little Rock, Arkansas, to Rick and Christy Woody, she had two older brothers, Austin and Tim. She was sweet, bright, creative, a lover of poetry, a gifted saxophonist, and a girl who had learned too early how to live with grief. At the age of just 7, tragedy struck. In June 1997, the Woody family was driving to Tim's baseball game when a group of horses escaped onto the road. Rick swerved to avoid them, but it was too late. The crash was brutal. Kacie's mother, Christy, was killed instantly. Kacie survived, but the trauma left a permanent scar. She developed a deep aversion to horses, a symbol of the crash that stole her mother. To cope, Kacie turned to writing, her notebooks filled with poems, many of them tributes to her mother, etched with the sorrow and strength of a child who lost too much, too soon. The Woody family lived in the rural woods of Holland, Arkansas, a quiet, tight-knit community. Kacie's dad, Rick, worked long hours as a local police officer. With her mom gone, the family relied heavily on Teresa, Kacie's aunt and next-door neighbor, who filled the maternal gap left in Christy's absence. The internet was Kacie's window to the world. Outgoing phone calls were billed as long distance, so the family preferred instant messaging. Kacie's username on Yahoo was Model Behavior 36. She used it not just to chat with friends and family, but also to connect with new people. She had even joined Christian-themed chat rooms, believing them to be safe spaces. But the screen can't protect you when danger wears a mask. Sometime in 2001 or 2002, Kacie met a user who went by the name Dave Fagan. His handle was JazzmanDF. Dave said he was from California, a teen surfer who shared Kacie's love of music and storytelling. Their conversations quickly grew frequent and personal. Kacie opened up about the loss of her mother. Dave, too, shared heartfelt stories about his own life, his ill aunt living in Arkansas. He claimed he was turning 18 soon, a red flag that should have ended things there. But instead, their bond deepened. To Kacie, Dave became her first real relationship, but things were not what they seemed. Kacie introduced Dave to her closest friends, Samantha and Jessica. Both were skeptical, protective, and increasingly concerned. They warned Kacie, never trust someone you've never seen. One even joked that Dave could be an 80-year-old man hiding behind a screen. But Kacie didn't listen. Her father, Rick, busy with his job, assumed that as long as his daughter stayed physically home, she was safe. Her brothers were in college, and Aunt Teresa was usually nearby, but none of them realized how dangerous digital proximity could be. By summer 2002, Rick discovered Dave was nearly 18, and he forbade Kacie from speaking to him. But Kacie resisted. They started talking on the phone, bypassing Rick's rules altogether. One night in the autumn of 2002, Kacie and Jessica were having a sleepover when something strange happened. Late into the evening, they heard noises, creaking floorboards, footsteps, but no one was supposed to be home. The girls barricaded themselves in Kacie's room, paralyzed with fear. Kacie didn't call her dad. She didn't call 911. She reached out to Dave. She told him someone was in the house. Dave told her to calm down, that it was nothing. And suddenly, the noises stopped. Coincidence or something darker? By October 2002, Kacie had made another online friend, Scott. His Yahoo name was Taz2999. He claimed to be 14 from Alpharetta, Georgia, and obsessed with football and wrestling. His profile photo showed a teenage boy in football gear. They began a digital romance, creating a complex triangle between Kacie, Scott, and Dave. When Dave learned of this new relationship, he didn't lash out. He told Kacie he wanted to remain friends. He needed someone to talk to about his ailing aunt. Kacie agreed, but she continued to make risky choices. She gave Scott her home address. Jessica and Samantha were alarmed. One day, they discovered a printed photo of Scott in Kacie's locker, the same one from his Yahoo profile. Kacie admitted he'd mailed it to her. That meant Scott, if he really existed, knew where she lived. The girls warned her again, but love made her reckless. Worried, Samantha contacted the school counselor, revealing that Kacie had shared her address and phone number with online strangers. Kacie was called in and given a serious talk about internet safety. There was tension between Kacie and her friends, but they eventually made up. Kacie soon invited Samantha for another sleepover, but it was a school night, and she declined. Jessica was busy too. Both girls felt something was off. Why a sleepover now? Why the urgency? Their instincts were screaming, but they didn't know this would be their last chance. December 3rd, 2002, Kacie was home alone. Her Aunt Teresa was out. Her dad and brothers weren't home either. Computer logs later showed Kacie was chatting with Scott on Yahoo Messenger and speaking with Dave on the phone. At 9:41 p.m., Scott noticed she'd stopped responding. Her chat was still open, but she was gone. He tried calling. He emailed Jessica. No response. Kacie had vanished. When Tim and his friend Eric returned, they noticed everything. Kacie's broken glasses, the computer left on, chat still active, the dog whimpering hurt. The police were contacted. At first, they thought Kacie had run away, but Rick shut that theory down. Her warm clothes were still there, her shoes. Outside it was freezing. If she had run, she wouldn't have gone far. And if she hadn't run, someone took her. The FBI launched a full-scale digital manhunt. Agents and detectives scoured school records, questioned Kacie's classmates, teachers, and, most importantly, her closest friends. That's when they learned about two names, Scott and Dave. Both been talking to Kacie online. Both were strangers, and either one could have lured her out of her home, or worse. First, they traced Scott, aka Taz2999, to Alpharetta, Georgia. They obtained IP logs, phone records, and coordinated with Georgia authorities. Scott was exactly who he said he was, a 14-year-old boy with a love of football and no criminal record. His communication with Kacie, while problematic, was not predatory. That left just one name, one shadow, Dave, or rather Jazzman DF. And what they found when they dug into his identity would uncover a lie so elaborate, it was almost criminal in itself. Kacie had believed that Dave was a teen surfer from California, heading to Arkansas to visit his dying aunt. But the FBI discovered that someone fitting that description had indeed checked into a Motel 6 in Conway, Arkansas, just one day before Kacie vanished. The man's name? David Fuller, 47 years old, driving a 1993 Buick Regal with California plates. The motel staff remembered him clearly, complaining about the internet not working and pacing nervously outside, chain-smoking cigarettes. Just a few blocks away, at a local Enterprise rent-a-car, Staff confirmed he had rented a silver Dodge Caravan. They remembered something else too. David was agitated, fidgeting, avoiding eye contact, and visibly tense. Then came the bombshell. The phone number David Fuller had used to book his motel stay was the same number that had called Kacie's landline. It was official. There was no 18-year-old Dave Fagan. It had been David Leslie Fuller, a 47-year-old internet predator masquerading as a teenage boy. David Fuller was born in Salt Lake City, Utah, into a conservative Mormon family. He married young, at 19, but that marriage ended quickly. In the 1980s, he married Sally, and they had 2 children. David served in the U.S. Navy as a Seabee until 1999. After the family relocated to La Mesa, California, David's behavior began to unravel. He became emotionally unstable, abusive, controlling. Sally recalled late-night phone calls, secretive internet habits, and growing violence. By 2002, they were on the brink of divorce. Then came the incident that solidified David's descent. He broke into Sally's home, assaulted her, and attacked her with a screwdriver, after she had barricaded herself in a bedroom. He was arrested for spousal abuse. Later, he took a job at a used car dealership where instead of selling cars, he spent hours on the work computer, viewing illegal material involving minors. A monster was taking shape, one who now had a name, a face, and a growing list of victims. On December 4th, 2002, the day after Kacie vanished, police followed a lead. David Fuller had rented a storage unit at GuardSmart. His credit card trail led them straight to it. Detectives arrived at the facility at 6 p.m. The metal roll-up door was shut, but unlocked. As they lifted it, 2 things happened instantly. 1, they saw the silver Dodge Caravan parked inside. 2, a single gunshot rang out. The detectives dove for cover. No one responded to commands. Backup was called. 2 hours later, with SWAT in position, they breached the unit. Inside was a scene that would haunt every officer for the rest of their lives. On the ground lay David Fuller, dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. But the real horror lay behind the van. At the back of the van was Kacie Woody, chained to the floor corners of the vehicle, lifeless, pale, gone. Near her head was a bottle of chloroform and a dirty rag. Investigators believe David sedated her, abducted her, and ended her life using the same 9mm handgun he used on himself. But before that, he had subjected her to unspeakable acts. This was no spontaneous act. This was methodical, premeditated, evil. The FBI executed a search warrant on Fuller's California residence. What they found was chilling. A collage of Kacie's photos, a handwritten list of Kacie's friends' phone numbers and addresses. One of Kacie's poems dedicated to her mother, printed and pinned to the wall. This wasn't obsession. This was calculated predation. But Kacie wasn't David's first target. In 2000, David used the Dave Fagan alias to contact a girl in Michigan. He offered to buy her a plane ticket to California. She declined. In 2002, he messaged a girl in Dallas, asking for her home address to send her flowers. She refused. Kacie, tragically, trusted him. She gave him her address, she opened the door, and she paid the ultimate price. Remember that strange night when Kacie and Jessica heard noises downstairs? In hindsight, investigators and Kacie's friends believed that David was already in Arkansas, possibly scouting the house, preparing for the abduction. But maybe something stopped him. Maybe it was Jessica's presence. But David would come back. He returned to California, bought chains, zip ties, and chloroform. He rented a storage unit, scoped it out, and waited for December, when he knew Kacie would be home alone. This wasn't impulsive. It was planned, step by horrific step. David Fuller drove across the country, lied about visiting his aunt, and executed a plan that left one child dead and a community shattered. On December 9th, Kacie Woody was laid to rest beside her mother in South Crossroads Church Cemetery, Rosebud, Arkansas. Her father, Rick Woody, was devastated, haunted. He thought Kacie was safe because she was home. But predators like David Fuller don't need to break in through the front door. They just need a keyboard and a little trust. In the wake of the tragedy, Kacie's family founded the Kacie Woody Foundation, dedicated to internet safety education. Their mission, to prevent other children from suffering the same fate. Kacie's story was one of the first nationally recognized cases of online grooming leading to abduction and murder. It's a cautionary tale about digital vulnerability, one that remains more relevant than ever. Today, with smartphones and social apps, it's harder to monitor what kids are exposed to. Because now you're not just giving your child access to the internet, you're giving the internet access to your child. Kacie Woody was just 13. She wanted a friend. She wanted someone to listen. What she got was a predator in disguise. David Fuller took advantage of trust, technology, and innocence, and committed one of the most chilling crimes of the digital age. But from that darkness came a movement, a mission, a call to all parents, teachers, and guardians. Watch, ask, listen, protect. Thank you for watching this deeply disturbing yet important episode of True Crime Archives channel. If this story moved you, please give this video a like and consider subscribing. It's completely free and ensures you never miss another case. Now we turn it over to you. Do you think the internet is safer now than it was in 2002? Or have predators only gotten better at hiding? Let us know in the comments. And remember, not all monsters hide in the shadows. Some are only a username away.